Hi everyone, it's Mike here and welcome back to my YouTube channel. So it's a new year and this is the first of my new rainy day project for 2025. There will be quite a few coming out throughout the year. So as previously, these rainy day kits are perfect for rainy days. Put into one side when you've got nothing else to do and you want to do something but you're not sure what, then you can use these little kits to put together to create a little piece of art. But they're also great for sharing with friends as well. If you're having play dates and that kind of stuff, you could grab a couple of these kits and then you can create along with a friend and do them. So also great for little craft groups as well. If you're wanting to get into mixed media, this is the perfect way to do it in small groups because they're fairly inexpensive. Well, I think so anyway. So this one today, as you can see, there's a butterfly on this one, there's a number, so we're going to be doing a specimen tag. You do get the sheet of tabbed materials, so you get all these things in your little kit. You'll also get this tag along with it also. So the first thing that I'm going to do to start off with is I'm going to cover the main tag. So I've gone to my raggy old dictionary and I've pulled out just a piece of paper. I've not really gone and had a look to see what is actually in the background on this one. It's as long as there's no swear words on it, I don't mind. So that's, you know, pretty much where we've gone to it today. So I need some glue. So what have I done with my matte medium? It was here a second ago and it's disappeared now. I don't want to use gloss. There it is, look. I moved it out the way for filming. Just give it a quick shake. So all I'm going to do is I'm just going to cover the tag in the matte medium. I've got a little brush here and I don't mind if there's a little bit of paint left on there. It doesn't make any difference really. I'm just going to give the tag a quick once over with the matte medium. I've put far too much on, but that's fine. That's all right. So we'll just lift most of that off on the brush and then I'm just going to drop the dictionary page down and then use what's left just to go over the top like so. Now it will soak through. Now what that will do in theory is you can see how it's darkening and as it's going through and soaking through the paper. Because we've added the matte medium underneath first and then we've added it over the top, that in theory should stop it from getting bubbles and wrinkles. Like I said, in theory. As a very famous TV programme used to say at the beginning, anything can happen in the next half hour. All right. Now you can either leave that to dry as is, if you want to, or you can hurry it along with the help of the heat gun. So while the paper on the tag is drying, I thought we would pop out all the bits and pieces from the kit. So as I said before, they are laser cut from 3mm Medite, which is the Carb 2 friendly form of MDF. They are tabbed just so that it's easier to transport rather than bagging loads of little bits. So they're only tabbed in a few places. And the best way to do them, as I always say, is take your fingers, get your fingernail and then just go around the edges. You can hold it up to the light to see where the tabs are. They're fairly easy to spot and then you can just pop the pieces out from your kit. There we go. Like I said, very easy to spot and very easy to pop out. I usually put the tabs on butterflies like this on the wings so that you're not having to push against those delicate little antennae. And then we've got our little fancy Baroque flourish. Usually only about 4 to 5 tabs on each item, depending on how big it is, obviously. And on the smaller items, there's usually only about 2. So there's those little screw heads. Well, that one practically fell out, look. And with these screw heads, there's the posi screw heads, there's 4 of those, but there's also some hex nuts as well. Now, when I was designing these, I thought, well, if you want some dimension on your screws, but you don't want those crosses, you can just drop those over the top. They are big enough to cover. So you've got dimensional hex nuts if you want to use those instead, or just use the hex nuts as they are. But they were specifically designed to go over the top and to cover the cross, so you can't see it underneath, like so. So what I like to do just on some of the items, so if you can see one of the tabs sticking up or just on the edge, just run over it quickly with an emery board or a nail file or a little bit of sandpaper, just some fine grit. You don't want anything too much. And then once you've gone through and gone around taking off just those little tabs, you don't have to do this, depends how much of a perfectionist you are. You can barely see them, like on the butterfly, because I tend to put them on places where you can't really see it. And don't forget, we are going to be painting these anyway, or covering them with something. And then, so there's not usually many. And then on the plank bit, doesn't really make any difference about that one. It's rough anyway on the edges. It's designed that way, all mottled and deckle edged like an old piece of wood. Okay, so once we've done that, we can then dispose of. Like I said, you don't have to use all of these if you don't want to. All right, so first things first. So because this is a plank of wood, I'm going to grab my wood grain stencil and I'm going to put some texture paste through that. Hopefully there's enough left. That's if my lid hasn't bonded itself to the pot, which it sometimes does. Let's grab some of that from in there. There's not a lot of this left now. All good fun. All right, let's just give that a bit of a mix. It's been left not used for a few months, so let's just grab, that's it, and then just pull that through. If you'd rather it was a flat texture, there's nothing stopping you from painting it first and then going back over again with a different coloured paint to get that same kind of wood grain effect. But I like the dimensionality of it. What's a big word for a Tuesday? I am filming this on a Tuesday and it probably will go live this coming Saturday, seeing as I'm not doing weekly mission inspirations this year. So that frees me up to do different videos on a Saturday. It's all good fun. Alright, so I'll just scrape off that excess back into the pot. So waste not, want not. I need to go and clean my spatula, clean the worktop, and also wash down the stencil, because you don't want to leave texture paste on your stencil because you'll never get it off if it dries. So I'll be back once I've had a tidy up. Alright, so I've had a bit of a clean up. So while the texture paste is just finishing off drying, I'll just pop that to one side over there. Then the page here is almost done. I've still got my emery board. So all I'm going to do is I'm just going to quickly go around the edges with the emery board just to remove the excess paper. Now I could go around with a scalpel, but I find using the piece of emery board, doing the pie edge technique, if you like, like Grandma used to do when she was edging a pie on a pie dish or a plate with a knife. She'd just go around with the knife on the edge, and that just removes the excess. There we go. It also blends the paper in quite nicely. I'm just pulling at it just gently. There we go. Just to remove those excess bits. And then you see we've got all that bit along the edge. And that should just, now there might be a little bit of the glue that's probably gone on that edge, so that bit of edge paper is stuck. Now I can leave it, or I can just sand it off. I think I'm going to leave it. So that's that dry. That sounds like one of the dogs. Hello, Mr. Nippy. And Mr. Bentley too. Hello. You just woke up. It must be wee time. Right, okay, so I'll just take a short break. Now you've seen me do that, while the rest of that texture paste is drying, and then I'll be right back after I've let the dogs out for a wee. All right, so now the boys have been outside, I can carry on. All right, so while those two bits are drying, or just finishing off, I'm going to paint the bottom part, the first layer of this kind of gothic shape. I'm going to paint that with some red paint. So this is called red oxide. So if you're familiar with old kind of gilt work and mirrors, where the gilt has kind of cracked and fallen away and there's that red colour underneath, that's what this is. Red oxide, or Terra Rosa sometimes called. I'm going to put a sealer coat on first of all, just go around covering all of it so it soaks in. Now this is a translucent paint, it's not a matte kind of like chalky finish one, so we probably will need to add a couple of coats, just a couple of coats. Here we go. So first coat done. Oh, it sounds like there's a doggy behind me now. There is, Mr. Nip. Hello, darling. You just had some biscuits. Yeah. Like he's going to respond. Hello, beautiful. Yeah. Beautiful lad. I know. Right, so we'll just get this dried off and then I'll be back. Alright, so that's the first coat. And I always think that this red is a very kind of Victorian kind of red. It's the sort of red that you see in like Victorian decoration, Gothic decoration. So Victorian revival, I should say. So medieval, because obviously the medieval colours were revived in the Victorian period. So a lot of the Victorian decoration and that kind of stuff picked up colours and colour themes from that medieval period, the golden age of chivalry and all that. So this is kind of like one of those colours. So that's coat number 2. So again, I'll just give that a blast with the heat gun. Let's move that paint out of the way. So I've actually got a little bit of elbow room, and then I'll be right back. Okay, so that was coat number 2. Now it did start to bubble a little bit down there at the bottom, which tells me we're starting to get the right kind of thickness and layers that I actually want on this one. So we'll just go another couple of coat, well, another coat or so. Hello, darling. I've got Mr. Nippy's just put his head on my knee. Sweetie pie. Are you interested to see what I'm doing? Eh? Are you interested to see what I'm doing? Hello, little fella. What? Tea. While that's drying. Eh, what did you want? Eh, what did you want? And the other one's just here, look. It's too early to go out for WALKs. Eh? You're just wanting cuddles. Is that what it is? You're just wanting cuddles. Okay then. Okay, so the next step. Crackle glaze. So I'm going to add a layer of crackle glaze all over this piece here. And I'm being fairly generous. Making sure I get plenty on. Coat it thoroughly. Now at this stage you can add, you know, as much of this stuff on as you want to. Make sure you've got a good even coat. And then you can leave it to one side to dry. Now this would normally takes around about 15 to 20 minutes to dry on its own, au naturel. You can gently heat it with a heat gun if you want to, but I prefer just to leave it to do its own thing. So that's what I'm going to do. So I'm just going to pop that to one side there and just let that go, and then wipe up any excess that's gone onto my craft mat. And while that's drying, I can come back in with this, and then I've got some brown. I did have some brown. Am I looking at the wrong? Yes, I'm looking at the wrong paint. I should have matte paints. There we go. So we've got hot cocoa, and then I'll need a darker brown, which is like leather corset, or there's one called ugly duckling as well, which is a lovely dark brown, but a bit too dark, I think, for what I want. So I'll just quickly clean my brush. I'm being very economical today. I'm only using the one brush, mainly because I've packed most of them away in readiness for moving. Right, so hot cocoa, give it a shake. This is quite an old paint, this, so it's, I was going to say, probably going to be quite thick. And then we'll just give this plank the once over. So I'm allowing ample drying time today because I'm in no rush, I'm in no hurry. I'm just taking the excess from the lid. If you're wondering why I keep going from the lid to the pot, because I'm being contrary today. Okay. Just catch the edges, the sides, I'm not particularly bothered too much. Where there's a little bit of that texture paste that's gone over the edge, maybe just grab a little bit of that and then just get rid. Just disguise that a little bit. Okay, so that's the dark brown. So that was a matte paint, so I'll put that away. Again, I'm going to encourage this a little bit, just for speed. Okay, so that's dry. You can just see, I'm hoping you can see the texture there. There are a couple of little bits there where I've missed. That's fine. Don't mind that at all. So at this point, I'm now going to bring the stencil back in. And I'm going to just see whether or not I can line that back up. Just like so. And I've got that dark leather corset paint. And I'm going to grab a bit of that paint. Oh, I didn't shake it up, did I? There goes some of the binder. There we go. That's better. The cloth. Granville, fetch a cloth. Alright. That probably won't mean anything to our American customers. Catchphrase from a British sitcom. There we go. Don't need a lot. Don't want a huge amount, just a small bit. And then I'm going to grab an ink blending foam, one of the domed ones. I would say these are from Tim Holtz, but they're not anymore, or Ranger, because you can get them elsewhere now. And I'm just going to dab over and just add a little bit of that darker paint onto the top, just to accentuate the wood grain that we embossed on. So you'll have a lighter where the stencil is and then a darker where the openings are. That's if I haven't pulled all the paint off with my fingers. There we go. So if I hold that up now, you can definitely see the wood grain. But like I said, you could have done that with the stencil anyway. You didn't need the texture paste, but I think that just adds that extra bit of dimension to it if you do the texture paste first and then do the stenciling afterwards. That's just me. I may be weird. Well, we know I'm weird. Okay, so again, quick tidy up, a quick clean up, and then I'll be right back. So while that's drying, I shall grab some distressing, and it's time now just to start going around the main tag. The eagle-eyed amongst you will have noticed that I have not yet punched through the hole. I'll be doing that in a little while. But if you don't want to do that, then don't. You could actually just leave it covered up if you want. I've said many times, the craft police aren't going to kick your door in if you don't do it exactly the same way as I do it. So don't sweat it. As Mr. Holtz is very, very fond of saying, you do you. Alright, so that's just added that little bit of texture in that background there, and then that is then going to get stuck just down there. Now I need to leave enough space for that little label to go on there, which we'll be doing that in a little while. I'm just going to check on the crackle. Still not dry yet, which is fine. That'll just give us time then to play with other stuff. So next layer, once that's done, is going to be this Fancy Flourish, which is going to sit on top of here. I'll go out a little bit of an angle. I haven't decided which yet. And I haven't decided which way around I'm going to put. I think probably that way, because I like that. So what I'm going to do with this, I'm just going to paint this with a nice kind of olivey green. He says, but first I'm going to go over with a light green, then I'll go over with another one of those heritage colours. This is Terra Vert, so earth green, and obviously you've had the red oxide, which is also known as Terra Rouge. So all these lovely kind of Renaissance colours are just lovely. So I'll just give that a quick shake up, and then I'll grab another blending foam, and I'll just quickly go over the top of this. Like I said, this is only a base coat, so I'm not bothered about it being imperfect. I don't mind the fact that you can see the edges, the dark edges from the laser cutting. It just adds a nice kind of framework to the piece. It's almost like a drop shadow that you can see the dark edges to it. Just a couple of coats. On the untreated wood, it does sink in quite quickly. So it does dry quite quickly as well. It's only once you've actually got a couple of coats on that it takes a bit longer to dry. There we go. And also pouncing like this with the domed blending foam just also gives it a little bit of texture. It's not flat. Cool. So that was the peppermint tea. I'll just quickly dry this. That's more than enough. I could have gessoed with white gesso to start off with, which would have created that kind of sealant, but I want the differentiation between the two shades of green. And I'm not even going to clean the sponge. That's how unbothered I am. And now look at me living dangerously. And I'm just going to go over the top. Like I said, not particularly all that bothered about coverage on this one. If some of that colour comes through, the lighter colour comes through, that's fine. Don't have a problem with that. And that's it for that bit. So again, quick, tidy and clean. And then I think we may have to just hurry up that crackle glaze, because I think it's taking quite some time to dry. Might be the fact that it's absolutely thick with snow out there today, but it's warm in here, so it shouldn't make any difference. All right, I should be back momentarily. Okay, so I'm going to cover the butterfly and the label with gold. But what I want to do first is I want to just give them a coat of white gesso. Now, only because that I want the gold to kind of stand out a bit. So let's just grab some of that white gesso there. And if it's got a lighter background to work with, then it'll work better. Now obviously the colour of the wood will shine through, or will start to come through with the gesso. It will stain a little bit, but that's fine. It's not going to stain too much, and it won't affect the final effect. As long as the colour is a lot lighter than what it was, then you'll get the effect that you're looking for, or I'll get the effect that I'm looking for. And again, you could put multiple coats on of the gesso if you want to. So another coat. I reckon 2 should be enough for this, for what I want anyway. All right. So the decision made, 2 is enough. All right, so I haven't actually got any gold paint. I could use gold embossing powder, or I could use the indigo blue luscious pigment powders, but I do have brass, which is gold enough. Gold enough for me. There we go. So I'll just pick that up. And because we've got it on a white background, that should work rather nicely. And like I said before, you can do multiple coats. I'll probably end up doing a couple of coats for this. Just because. And it doesn't take long to dry at all, and you can always tell when it's starting to dry because the luster just all of a sudden just starts shining through. And you get that lovely kind of mottled, almost like hammered finish rather than like a flat gold colour when you do it this way, which I think just adds so much texture to it. It's lovely. Okay, let's get that dried. All right, I think I've missed a bit. I've got some on my fingers probably. So just a final go over, and that should be it. And then I'll put these bits away because we don't need them again until we're ready to stick them down. Okay, so pop those over there. I'll have a quick wipe up, tidy up of my worktop, and then we'll be ready to come back and have a look at that crackle glaze. All right, although it doesn't look like it's dry, it is. It's just the way that it does dry in patches. I'm going to use a colour called Clotted Cream, which is this one here. There's not a lot left in the pot, which is why I've gone in and taken out enough paint that I'm hoping that's going to do the whole of this little gothic piece. And I'm making sure I've got plenty of paint on my brush. So I'm going to start at the top and just start working my way down, trying not to recover or go over where I've already gone. And you'll see the crackle start to appear. The temptation is to go back over where you've missed. Resist the temptation, boys and girls, because you really don't want to. I'll try and lift it up a little bit so you can see the crackle coming through. Look at that. Oh, got some real nice big crackles coming through there, look. So I now need to just leave that where it is for now. So while that's doing that, I'll just have a quick tidy up with some of these paints, because we don't need them anymore. So I'll just clean this up and leave that where it is. And I'll be back in a few seconds when all this has dried, with any luck. All right, I've had a little bit of a tidy up. As you can see, that's still not quite dry yet, just there in the middle. Unfortunately, my heat gun, it stopped working a minute ago. So I can just finish off that little bit there, just with a few helping hands for that crackle glaze. Come on. Lovely. All right, I'll put that to one side now. Right, I haven't got any copper paint. I've just had a look and it looks as though it's all disappeared. So I can only blame one person for that. So what I'm going to do, like I said earlier, you don't have to use typical everything, but I do want a little bit of dimension on this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to convert these like faux screw heads into hex nuts. So I'll just grab my tweezers and I'm just going to literally just drop it on and center it in place. And as per usual, I'm shaking like I don't know what, because, you know, I'm getting old. In fact, to tell you what, why don't I just drop it on? Let's just forget the pretense about being delicate and just drop it on. There we go. I ain't fooling no one, am I? All right, so I've stuck the hex nuts on top of the screw. So those are now double dimension, if you like, double the width, double the thickness. So while they're just grabbing, let's just put those to one side. And then we can start to glue our bits together where we want them to go. So once I've got that in position there where I know where I want it to go, so it's going to go down at the bottom, like so. Got to leave enough room for those to, yeah, that'll do, that's enough. Right, so as long as I know that's going to go there, I can grab my glue and I'm just going to use just ordinary PVA because I'm gluing wood onto paper. So I can just drop that down, try and get it in the middle and just stick it down like so. And then I can now get this piece, because it's pretty much dry enough. I'm going to go that way with the glue so it's crossing over the grains on the plank. pull it down a tad. And I just have to make sure that I get it equal. I can feel it starting to grab already. There we go. And then I can take our little flourish. And I'm only going to glue in the middle bit because I haven't decided whether I'm going to have it sticking out yet. Actually, let's just do around there. That should be enough to glue it down anyway. And then we'll turn it round. But I think I like it just coming off a little bit there. It's still within the confines of the tag. And then I can just glue the middle of the butterfly and drop that down just like that. I'm liking it. I'm liking it a lot. All right, so while that's drying, I'll put it to one side over there and I can come back in now. Let's just hope that these are stuck down enough for me to give these a little bit of a coat I've got some gilding gum and I want some luscious pigment powders, which are down here, and I have a lovely, lovely copper one. Penny Dreadful, Quail. I think Penny Dreadful is probably the copperiest copper I've got. So I'll just take a little bit of the gilding gum, pop it down on my worktop. That should be enough. I'm not going to need a huge amount. I'll need a brush. That'll do. Should we go for a smaller brush? I do have a smaller brush. I didn't pack everything. Not just yet anyway. Let's have a look. A small one with longer bristles. There, that'll do. And this is the Luscious Pigment Powder, mica, very, very rich. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to pick up some of the gilding gum. So this dries with a glossy, clear coat. I'll just pick up a little bit and dab it into the pigment. And it coats the brush. And it creates the most lovely copper coloured paint. The more gilding gum you add, the looser it becomes. And I think that's just enough. You see, this is where the tweezers came in. There we go. And I can just go around the edges. Alright, drop that down, pick up the next one. Oh, see, that hadn't glued properly. Perhaps I should wait a little bit longer. Or perhaps I'm just a little bit too impatient. Just do it gently. Like so. I'm only brushing gently, I'm not putting too much pressure on this. The thing with these are, I'll just put the lid back on there, is that they do dry very, very quickly. Just like that. So you can add a second coat fairly quick. Last one. Okay. Brushing the water, and again, I'll just tidy up and then I'll be right back. All right, so we've zoomed in just a little. So what I'm going to do is, I've also tidied up, is I'm just going to add these in the corners of this rather than the actual tag itself. So I'm hoping I'm going to put enough glue right. That's it. There we go. I think, let's clear the nozzle of the glue. I think that is probably about right. I don't think I'm going to bother popping the hole out of that. I think I'm going to leave it like it is. I like it like it is, but I remember I haven't stuck that down, have I? Oh dear, rookie mistake. All right, so just very, very, very carefully, just place that down in the middle, just like so. Now it's stuck down. There we go. So I hope you've enjoyed watching me put this rainy day kit together. If you have, please remember to give the video a thumbs up because it really does help me and the channel get noticed. Don't forget you can share the video with your friends. And if you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel already, you can do so by clicking the button at the end of the video. That's all from me for now. Don't forget, if you want to purchase these rainy day kits, there is a link in the description area below the video. That's all from me for now. I'll see you all again very, very soon. Love that crackle. I'd like to say a huge thank you to all of my angels, because without you, these videos would not be possible. And don't forget, you can access your exclusive angel-only content over on my website. There's a link in the description area below. Thank you.